What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And, if you can see, obviously, I'm in a totally new setting for today because right now I'm in the middle of a business trip. And, I'm only running on 1 hour of sleep for today. And we're in a brand new location for today. But the show must go on. So let me know how everybody's doing in the comments. I'm so excited to be here today. This is a totally new environment for me. I've actually never been here before. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina for today. I can't say the name of the hotel because they said that I wasn't allowed to do that, so I won't say that. But, man, the experience that I've been experiencing has been absolutely great, absolutely amazing. The food slaps down here, so if you guys ever get a chance to try some of the food around here, I had a local taco stand, taco truck. It was absolutely fire. It got rated 5 stars, and it was like over 100 reviews. And when it comes to looking at stuff like that, I'm very picky because I like to eat the best. I don't like to eat food that's mediocre because that's not me. And the experience has been absolutely amazing. The drive took around 8 hours. So it's been all great. It's been all great. So right now, I wanted to talk to you guys. Sorry, that was actually Marty with Lounge with Legends. You want to come say hi to everybody? Might as well, right? So if you guys, I'm just going to spill the beans right now. Here's Marty with Lounge with Legends. Go. Hey. There it is. Marty, any words that you want to say to the camera right now?
No, keep tuning in. It's going to be a great episode. I was just making sure everything was okay. I'm going to go watch it from the hotel room.
All right, no problem. So Lounge with Legends, everybody, they have their own show on the E360 television network. And I just wanted to, give them a little bit of a shout out just because we have some things cooking up in the works that I can't really tell you guys about. But I'm just so excited to be here. So hello, everybody. Hello, Jeanette. Hello, Dominique. Hello, Laurie. I'm really so excited to be here. And, okay, this is the main point. I don't have my book with me for today, so everything's going to come off the top of the dome, but it is going to be A-okay. So, Dominique, in Raleigh, if it wants to, yeah, there it is. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina right now, just because, Weekly Dose of Dano has some business that we need to conduct over here, and it's been absolutely amazing. So the main point is, for the beginning, what I want to tell you guys is this. I always talk about on the show, right, how our inner reality always shapes our outer reality. And I'm so happy that I get to do this today to everybody with a new background and in a new state. And that's the main point that I want to make. My reality, my inner reality, I've always been working on it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I've been trying to look for the bigger and better opportunities that are going to be out there and are going to present themselves. And I've been trying to, I've had other opportunities too, but this one just really spoke to me and something that really hit my core. And, I just want to show you guys that the stuff that we talk about on the show is definitely real. Everything that you have in your inner reality, that's why I'm in a new place right now, because everything on the outside is going to manifest what's going on the inside as well. So that's one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys for the beginning of the show, just because I don't have my book. But that is A-okay. There's also another quote that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm really big on quotes only because these are the best things that I know hit me and motivate me and try to make me the best and maybe help me with a different perspective than I never even heard about before. So here's the quote for today. It says, "Trust the wait, embrace the uncertainty, enjoy the beauty of becoming. When nothing is certain, anything is possible." I'm going to say it one more time because I know it's a little bit of a mouthful, but we're going to repeat it again for you guys. So it's trust the wait, embrace the uncertainty, enjoy the beauty of becoming. When nothing is certain, anything is possible. And I really love that because trusting the wait and embracing the uncertainty are the two biggest things that I want you guys to really understand when it comes to that quote. Because there's so much beauty in change, and there's so much beauty in opportunity. Megan just came into the building, so hi Megan, we're about to bring her on the show soon. But there's so much opportunity and change. Always focus on what can go right, and always focus on the opportunity and the money, the opportunity that may come for taking this leap of faith. Always focus on the good. Never focus on, oh, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? Yeah, you still have to think about it, but don't let that be your focus, because where attention goes, energy flows. And if you focus on the bad, then the energy is going to flow to the bad. and it's going to manifest. And that's something that's really going to happen. And make sure that you're always, you know, working on the positivity, always working on your mind, always worrying about the words, or always being conscious, I should say, of the words that you're using, because everything is, you know, everything is all going to be okay. And another thing too is one more point before we bring Meghann onto the show. If you know that something is for you and you feel it within your soul, and you know that this is meant for you, you know, obviously other people are going to come into your life and give you different perspectives to what they think is the best for you. But if you know something is 100% for you, don't ever let anybody try to take that away from you. Because with your intuition and your life and everything that you know you live, like I can tell you guys, for me, you know, I like to communicate to the universe. I like to communicate with God through meditation, and stillness is where I receive my answers. So when you take all of these practices to know that these answers are for you and these opportunities are for you, do not let anybody in the world try to change what you know is true to be for you. I don't care who it is. It can be your mom. It could be your pops, brother, sister. None of that stuff matters, because nobody's going to step foot in your shoes and nobody's going to live your life for you. And even if it doesn't pan out the way that you think it's going to happen, everything, this is the motto of the show, everything is a lesson or a blessing. So even if it doesn't work out, you still have that life experience. You still have that opportunity to take another direction. And what more could you want than, you know, that confidence that you took that leap of faith and nobody else was able to shake you from that decision that you made. And you guys are all blowing up the comments. Like I said, I gotta shout you guys out. Can I get a hashtag positivity posse in the chat? Because the positivity posse is always strong. You guys are always blowing up the comments, always blowing up the engagements. And for that, like, I love you guys, man. I'll tell you straight up, I love you guys, because without you guys, none of this is possible. You know, even if it's just one person through a million people, it doesn't matter. As long as we come on together to create this great energy and to feed off of this great energy going into the weekend, it's going to be absolutely amazing. So we're going to bring on Meghann for today. You guys are blowing. I love it. I love it. Oh, I like that. Positively positive. Positivity posse. Thank you guys so much. Sherry McQueen, shout out. Lou, shout out. All you guys always show up every week, and I love you guys for that. Okay. That's enough about that. Now, Meghann, we have a lot to talk about because her story is absolutely incredible. You want to talk about a person who really had to do a lot of digging to get themselves out of you know, a very trying time when things seemed like they were against her. But now she's in a totally you know, different headspace, in a positive headspace. So she's going to come on, share her story, share her techniques and her strategies in order to get yourself out of that, you know, deep, dark place, if that's where you're in right now. She's going to come on to talk about that, and her story is absolutely incredible. So without further ado, Meghann, what are you doing? Stop doing your deadlifts. It's time to come on the show. Hey, Meghann, how's it going?
Hey.
Oh, let me put on my volume a little bit. All right. So, Meghann, I know you've had an extremely busy day, and I just want to say from everybody on the show that's watching to myself, thank you for coming on today and sharing an hour of your time and your experience to come on and share everything that you know.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really honored and grateful to be here.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be, you guys, I can't wait for you guys to hear this story. So Meghann, you have a lot that you have to share. And I know there's some touchy subjects that, you know, some things that have happened to you that may not have happened to many other people. So I think that in order to really get a sense of who you are and what you really had to battle through, would you just be able to give us a quick synopsis of, you know, your time serving and, you know, your experience that you had with that?
Absolutely. And thank you thanks for bringing me on. Super excited to be here and share my story. And yes, it's, you know, people hear it and they're like, oh my gosh. You know, you never, even me having to live through it, I don't think I ever imagined that I would be where I'm at now, but you know, that's a part of the growth, right? So, to start off, I became a firefighter. It took me a little bit longer in life to figure out what I wanted. I was, early 20s and just, I had jobs and stuff, but I didn't really find anything that I was passionate about. And so it was around 24, almost 25 that I decided I want to be a firefighter. And I just jumped all into it, went in and started doing all the courses I needed to, get my EMT license and get hired on a fire department. I started out as a volunteer, and I'm from Colorado. That's the first department I got on with, was there. And it was awesome. I mean, I learned so much. I got so much hands-on experience. And then a couple years went by and I decided to join the Air Force. And I had a lot of friends that were military. And that was how my military career started. I came in January of 2009 and got firefighter, which is what I wanted. Was super excited. I put in to go overseas, and my first choice was Italy. And that was the first base that I got, was Italy. Another huge, exciting opportunity and experience. And, I had all these goals and these dreams of traveling the world and getting my degree and becoming an even better firefighter. And, I did. I mean, I went overseas and I just absolutely loved it. I saw all of Europe and just had like mind-blowing experiences. And, there was times that was hard. I was the only female in the fire department. So my civilian department, there was, firefighting is a male dominated career. Like no matter where you go, yes, there are more women nowadays than there were, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but it's still, the military is still mostly male dominated. And then you have a male dominated profession. So there were things that I put up with that I shouldn't have had to, but unfortunately that just is kind of how the nature of the beast. Right. And, it didn't really start to kind of all hit me when I guess that kind of came into play when I deployed. My last deployment was 2016 to Kuwait, and I was assaulted while I was there. One of the most horrific things that, you could ever imagine. I've been in at that point for gosh, what, 8 years at that point. And, as an NCO, I was in charge of people. I had a really stressful job at the time. And they kept me there on the deployment. I was not in a good place mentally and emotionally. I mean, a deployment alone is extremely stressful. You can imagine you're away from your family home. I was there during the holidays. You're dealing with a chaotic situation, and then to have to go through an investigation. And I was going to school at the time. I mean, I definitely was far from my best self. I was angry. I was lashing out at people. I was not in a good place. And when I came home, it was a whole nother challenge because, again, a normal situation on a good deployment, coming home and reintegrating back into civilian life is tough, right? But having to come home and deal with the investigation was still kind of ongoing. My perpetrator was protected from being charged. I mean, they gave him a slap on the wrist essentially and just said, okay, we're going to demote you for 6 months. And they kept him in the Air Force. And it was heartbreaking because my whole career I'd been told, we have a zero tolerance policy in the Air Force for sexual assault, sexual harassment, any of that stuff. And then here it happens. And they basically just kind of, it's like that ugly, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to deal with it. And they did everything that you should not be doing as leadership to the person, the victim and the perpetrator. And this greatly affected me. And then my unit started coming after me and attacking me personally because I'd been diagnosed with PTSD, MST, which is military sexual trauma. So it's so bad that in the military, it has its own rating and category within the VA. It is a specific label for it. And that started the downfall of my career. I mean, I was, like I said, almost 10 years in and had 0 reprimands. I mean, I had a impeccable, background history. I'd never had even a verbal counseling. I was military firefighter of the year. I had numerous achievement medals and awards, and I thrived at what I did because I loved firefighting and I loved being in the military. I was very passionate about it. And it wore me down. I mean, I fought and I fought and I fought against the people that were there who were supposed to protect me. And they, like I said, destroyed my reputation, destroyed my career, personally, on a personal level, attacked me. I was also going through a shoulder injury and a tailbone injury, as well as the mental side of, dealing with an assault and dealing with, people were like, oh, you're paranoid, but I was literally being attacked on all sides. And it ended up in my career ending in 10 years, just gone. I didn't get retired. I didn't get any of that. I literally my contract was over and I was done. And it was like having the entire rug pulled out from underneath me. I was halfway through nursing school to commission as a flight nurse and go as an officer. And I was planning on, retiring from the Air Force. I didn't have a backup plan because that was my plan. And really within a couple months, so that was end of November 2018 when that happened. And by March, like February even, I was so depressed. I mean, I couldn't even get out of bed to go to school. I literally wanted to die every single day. I would just, and even at that point, looking back now, I was super in denial about it. I knew I was in a bad place. I mean, a very, very dark place, right? Like the worst place I'd ever been in my life. But I was like, well, I'm not one of those people because I'm not actively planning out my suicide. But I, every day, literally just in my head was like, I want to die. I hope God just comes and takes me off this earth because I'm done. I can't live anymore. And luckily, I had started Deadlift Diva, my fitness business, a few years prior to this, and had, networked with just some amazing people, and really hadn't done anything with it. Like I wasn't coaching anybody at the time, but I had met just some amazing people through my masterminds, and that's how I was put on the track kind of to NLP. So one of the girls that I went to my Orlando trip with had been in Colorado, and she reached out to me and she was like, you need to go meet Scott, who was my NLP mentor. He coaches coaches. And I was totally skeptical. I'm like, there's nothing that can help me.
Hey, Meghann, listen, this is like, I love hearing about your story. But there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot that happened to you in the beginning half. And, I kind of want to transition into how, the turnaround came and you got this opportunity. And, I kind of want to, let's unpack a little bit about that. Yeah. So, you're just saying that you had to deal with a lot of abuse and a lot of people coming at all angles from you. And, you just didn't have a great experience, and just to put it lightly. So what were some of the things that kept you pushing, even through, at the times, like you said, that you wanted to commit suicide on, almost on a daily basis? What were some of the internal, like, voices that you were listening to that helped you push through the negativity?
Honestly, it's hard to say because, like, I know how bad I was, right? And I'm like thinking back on it, going, did I really even have a thought that I needed? If I hadn't have had, my dog was a big one. So I had rescued my dog when I came home from deployment, and he had been abused and abandoned and all these horrible things. He was part of it. Like, I knew that if I ended my life, like, my dog, what would happen to him? Plus my family and my friends. And then right at the time that I came home from the deployment, luckily, because of my business, I had been exposed. I actually started reading Tony Robbins when I was deployed. I started reading Awaken the Giant Within. So I feel that kind of put those, planted those seeds a little bit in my mind, that had I not had that stuff, I definitely probably would have ended my life for sure. Not even made it that far. Because it instilled some of that like fighting, even though I didn't feel like I was fighting, and I felt like I literally was not. I mean, I wasn't thriving at all. I was like barely surviving, right? Like, you're in survival mode at that point. But I think that stuff definitely had to have played a part, because even though I couldn't recognize it at the time, there was something there that was just, I mean, I was hanging on by a thread, but I was still hanging on, right? Like, I didn't take that step. I would say that I went to Business Mastery in 2017, so like 6 months after coming home, and then went on the next summer in 2018 to UPW Chicago, Unleash the Power Within, and again, those, like, and of course my own masterminds with the group I was telling you about. Like, I think those definitely kind of kept me still somewhat like 1 foot, in life, right? And and I'm glad that you asked that, because nobody's really asked me that before. And I'm like, and I haven't really thought about it even myself. Like, what did keep me in there? So that stuff, I believe, for sure. And it put me on the path to then get me exposed to where I would later meet my coach and get fully in an NLP, and become a coach myself.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you were able to share all of that, just because, there's so many different ways that people like to cope with, their issues and their problems. And I think you did it in a very healthy way, whether it was through animals. Let me ask you a question as well. Did you meditate or listen to any type of music to help you push through that as well?
I am a big music, like I grew up playing the piano, I sing, music is huge for me. But even at that point, I think it's so hard to explain. Um, which is also why I connect so well with other veterans, because being in that mind, it's a different, not to take away from, other people that haven't served and saying that their depression or their PTSD or their trauma is not, but it's different. And that's why veterans bond so much, because of the stuff that we've seen. So not only was it that deployment, but years of being a firefighter, years of seeing, people at like, fatalities and just horrific stuff that we see. Um, Really is, it's a dark place, right? So it
Mhm.
is, it's hard to, um yeah, I don't know how to really I'm like, how
Yeah.
do I answer this question? But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a tough place to be in, it can really affect you on that level. And I mean, it's that whole analogy, I think I told you about it, where you say like it takes one veteran to get in that hole with the one veteran and get them out because they've been
Mhm.
there. And for me, that's how it was. Like, I didn't really have anyone. I didn't have, I mean, yes, I had my friends and some, like, people I would reach out to, and I would just sob and just go off. And I mean, I had so much anger and rage, but I don't feel like I even had anyone, who truly felt and understood what I was going through. And now that I'm on the other side of it, that's why I'm so passionate about connecting with people and making sure that they don't get to that point that they feel like they don't have support. And these huge uprisings of veteran support groups, like the suicide awareness, where we do the Silkies hikes, Irreverent Warriors is a big one, things like that, like the other veteran businesses that I connect with, because it is so important to,
Yeah.
it's hard
Yeah.
for us to relate. It's hard for us to relate to civilians because we don't have that same bond like we've seen on the military side. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's really hard for somebody to put themselves into your shoes because there's a lot that happened. And nope. And I think when it comes to being compassionate, that's kind of a missing ingredient that people don't do. They don't take them time to take themselves out of their perspective and put it into yours. So let's say if there's somebody watching this right now, and I'm not even sure if this is the right term to use, so I want you to correct me, please, if you know of something else. Victim. How do you feel about that word victim? And, is that the right word to use? And let's just say if we have a person that encountered the same thing, in the military or maybe not, what advice would you give to them watching right now? And how would you help them, cope with everything?
Yeah, I love that. Because I struggle with that word sometimes, because it is hard. Like, so many people I know, when I was going through, like, even coming home and just all this stuff that was being thrown out. Oh, you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim, just over and over and over and over and over. And I know through NLP also, like, putting labels on things is so, it can be damaging, right? It can set you up for like things that, like, associate with that label. And yes, I was a victim, but at the same time, I'm a survivor, and even more important is I'm a warrior because of this. Like, I don't see myself as a victim, and I that's part of my healing process, was to let go of that victim label and that victim, putting myself into a victim situation, because um, it can have different repercussions, even though it's intended to be, like, yes, you're a victim of assault, right? Or you're a victim of, whatever it is, right? So using that, I like to shift people's mindset around that label. Like, yes, you were victimized, but you don't have to be the victim. And that's
Mhm.
what it took for me to take my life back and say, no, I'm not a victim. I'm not going to sit here and live in that. That's playing small. I'm playing small by staying in that victim. And how is that impacting people that I could be coaching? My clients, myself, the people around me, that I have that ripple effect on, if I am constantly playing it small and being stuck in that victimhood of this was done to you. It took a lot for me to finally find that power and be empowered by saying I'm a survivor, but even more importantly, I am a warrior, and I'm standing up for all those people who haven't had their story told. Maybe they're too scared to come forward, or
Mhm.
it's painful. I mean, it's not easy to share that story. And I'm here to give those people a voice, but to let them know that, you do not have to be a victim. Yes, you were victimized. You're a survivor, and you are powerful, and it doesn't matter if you've shared your story or not, you know, like keep pushing forward. And of course, I tell everyone, I mean, I have people reach out to me all the time, and I'm like, I don't care who you are. I would much rather have people reach out to me and talk to me and have a conversation. If that makes one difference in one person's life, then my goal is accomplished. You know, I've given them the power to take back their freedom for their life.
Yeah, and that is truly amazing. I mean, just for you to have that confidence and you know, that confidence in yourself, and to know that you're helping other people. I think that's kind of like the main point of life, to help other people in any capacity that we can. And so right now, unfortunately, it's been blowing by so quickly. We're at the middle of the program already, so I'm gonna have to. You know what? Yeah, let's go. So I looked over really quick. I don't know if you saw me doing a quick laugh. Do you know who this guy?
Hi.
Hey, we're walking to Dano's studio. We're sorry. I apologize. I saw him in here filming. I said, I got to come say hi.
That's so awesome.
All right. You guys have a great show. I'll let you guys go. See you later.
Yeah, so that was the I think that was the neighborhood homeless guy that just walked in the middle of the show. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, so right now we're actually. I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, you just let him on in. Like,
Yeah, I felt bad for him. No, I'm just kidding. These guys are wonderful guys. Like I said in the beginning of the program, Lounge with Legends, go check them out. Actually, Megan was on their show last week, and that's how we all got connected with one another. So right now, all right, let's get to it. Right now is the programs and the commercials that we have to play, since it is the middle of the show. But when we come back, I want you to talk about exactly what you just said, labels, but more so the power of your words. How important are the power of the words that we speak, and what are some of the pitfalls that we fall into when it comes to the verbiage that we use every day? So just think about that over the break. I'm only running on like literally an hour of sleep, so I might take a little bit of a nap in between the programs. So here's just a few commercials, and we'll be right back with everything. Don't go anywhere.
okay.
So thank you from the words from our sponsors. I actually had to use a few pieces that I created, because you know how Facebook is, and their copyrights, they're very strict with that, and they've been giving me a lot of trouble. So last time that I used them, we were all okay with them. So those are just a quick word from our sponsors. So Megan, I know a big word. I'm kind of going to give it away, the word that you don't like to use, and that word is trying. Explain to me a power of words, because I can just sit here and say, oh, words are powerful. But what does that really mean? What are the powers behind the words, and why don't you like the word trying?
Awesome. Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. So part of the process and part of the transformation for me when I became an NLP coach was So NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming. So neuro, if you break down each word, right? Neuro is the neurology, your brain, your neurons, how they fire, how, our brains are extremely complicated. You have brilliant machines. I mean, they're like a giant computer. So it's on the neuro level, the neurology level. And then linguistic is language, but it's not just about language. It's not just like speaking like you and I are talking right now, right? It's everything associated with linguistic and language. I mean, it is our thoughts and it's our perception, because our perception is our projection. So, the way that my coach said to me, he was like, okay, this is why we don't use the word trying, or we eliminate that, because trying is literally the art of doing nothing. Like you're not doing anything by trying. So when you say try to pick up that pencil and you go to pick it up and then you would take it away, and he was like, no, you're trying to pick up the pencil. You cannot try to pick something up, or you cannot try to do something. You literally either do it or you don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the background and the real like deep level of words and associations of how we use them and what we're saying when we're saying certain words. Another big one, or a couple other big ones we're taking out: don't from your vocabulary, no, stop, because our brain, our unconscious mind, does not know the difference between a negative and a positive. So when you're saying I don't, you think about whenever you ask somebody, what do you want, right? And they're like, well, I don't want this. That's not what I said. I said, what do you want? And when you're saying I don't, your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain is like, oh, that's why if you tell a child, don't touch that, don't do that, don't, right? And they go do it. You're like, why are you not listening to me? And parents get so mad and frustrated, like, what the heck is wrong with my kid? They have no ability to follow directions. Well, you're literally telling them to do something. When you say don't do that, they're gonna go do it. And
Yeah.
that's why, because it's on the unconscious level.
Yeah, and I agree. I was just about to say it just came. I think this is where the lack of sleep is kicking in. That's what you end up. All right, I found it. You need to speak in the affirmative, because that's how you manifest the stuff that you actually want. It's exactly like you said. I don't want a driving ticket. I don't need a ticket today. I don't want to get pulled over. What's going to happen? You're going to get pulled over, and that's one of the things that we talk about on the show all the time. Is the power of the subconscious mind. A lot of people aren't really aware of it. I just recently started to find out about the powers of it and what effects that it has on us on a day-to-day basis. Now, this is a perfect segue into that, because I want you to talk about, some of the things that you've learned that maybe you haven't known before about the subconscious mind, and what are some of the techniques and practices that we can do as far as rewiring the subconscious mind? What are some of the techniques, and what does that even mean to rewire it?
Yeah, there's a lot, so I'm gonna go super deep, and people are it is, because when I try to explain like what NLP is and what I do now as a coach, it's like, what? So only 2% of the world, not of the US, of the world, use NLP or personal growth and development, which is crazy when you think about it, because you are literally, the other 98% of us are not tapping into our very powerful brain and mind, which allows us to go out and do the things that we want. You look at the most successful people, right? The people that are just crushing it out in the world, like they're the top 1%, and the billionaires, and the people that are inventing things and doing things and all these amazing abilities that they have. And they're people that constantly practice personal growth and development. That was a big one for me. Really, it's changing. NLP is really changing your habits and your behaviors on an unconscious level, because that's where our habits and our behaviors are formed from the time that we're born. I mean, 0 to 7 is your imprint years. So it is your years that you are literally learning. You've learned all the major negative emotions by the time you're 7. So anger, fear, sadness, hurt, guilt. And it's not, this isn't like, oh, I'm going to blame my parents because my parents, like, yes, they play a role because that's our environment and we don't have control over who our family is. But we have the ability as adults, once we learn all the stuff that we learn, it's unlearning all that through the techniques. So through meditation, through reading, through, because you think about the stuff, you feed your body healthy foods to stay healthy. You work out in the gym to be physically fit. Well, how do you train your brain and your mind? How do you feed the fuel to your mind to retrain it and to make it a very powerful source that you can use to literally manifest anything that you want in life? And that's how. A lot of people, some people prefer podcasts over reading a book, or, there's obviously many different mechanisms of how to train your brain and what kind of habits you're forming, but really going in and you're removing all the negative things really by releasing them. So you're not technically like going and taking them out, right? Because you're not erasing events or memories from your mind, but you're combining it with hypnosis, timeline therapy, and pace coaching. And that's where I come in. I mean, I learned all the stuff that I went through, I teach to my clients because it's very powerful. And you start with small tasking. So for me, it was, if I had a habit that I just removed that was a negative thing I wanted to remove, like losing weight, or, for someone, it could be stopping, quitting smoking, or maybe it's just talking about the words that removing those words from their language, right? You're starting on a small level. You have to replace that with a positive thing, because our brain and our minds as people, we are go-getters. We love to, we're creatures of habit, right? We thrive off of having a routine and a schedule, and it's good to be flexible and to deviate from that, but the habits are formed on the unconscious level. So what do? We place in a new habit, something positive. Meditation, starting the morning with the morning routine. I get up, I do my I started with 5 minutes a day, because for me, I'd never meditated, and I was like, I don't even know how to meditate. I've done yoga, I've done all that stuff, but I'm like, what do? How do you clear your mind so that you can meditate? And I asked, a couple different people that I know that are really good at meditation, and they said, just start small. Start with like 5 minutes a day, and even if it's just like in your meditation, you're sending out love to all the people, even people that may not be in your life anymore. That was easy for me to connect with, because of the stuff that I'd already learned in NLP, and because I have a big heart, and I'm a very much of an empath, and I have, my heart is very sensitive, even though I have that tough outward outward appearance. So I thought, that's great. That's perfect, because you start with meditation, you start with thinking about, even if they're people that maybe you had a falling out with, or somebody that's struggling, anyone, everyone, right? Just sending out love to all the people that have been in your life at one time, and set a timer for 5 minutes. And then I would go into my self hypnosis. So setting very intentional things for the day, like, okay, this is what I have to accomplish, and then go get them done. And I need to do hypnosis because I have to speak directly to my unconscious mind, because your unconscious mind is the goal getter. A lot of people think it's the conscious mind, but it's the unconscious mind.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I had the same experience. I didn't even know how to meditate in the beginning. I sat down on the floor in my room. I said, okay. Usually when I do something, I do it to the best of my ability, and I kind of have like this, I'm like, oh, I'm going to crush this the first time I do it. First time I tried it was absolutely terrible. I said, this stuff doesn't work. But I actually found an app on my phone that helps me, meditate, and it's one of the best things that I've ever found. So there's apps on the phone that you can do. There's guided meditations on YouTube.
All kinds of apps, yep.
Yeah, so with all of this technology, I mean, we use it anyway to look at social media and stuff that really isn't beneficial for us. And except if you're watching the show, you always got to tune into the show, because this is always beneficial. But, there's different techniques and things that are out there, and we've been talking a lot about meditation. Now, I want to segue into this idea of the Deadlift Diva and fitness. What is Deadlift Diva, and how did fitness help you in your life?
Yeah, so I know it's funny. I'm like, because it's like, how did you even come up with that idea? And I'm like, growing up, I was always pretty physically active, right? I mean, I played soccer from, I think I started at 5 years old. I started playing soccer. I played basketball once sixth grade, I got on the basketball team, and I've always been very physically strong for a female. And I mean,
you left Denise. Sorry, I just wanted to say you're leaving Denise speechless over here. She doesn't even know what to say anymore during these during your stories. But go ahead, continue.
And so, yeah, I mean, I would go like sixth grade, I'd be out playing, football with the guys, right? I mean, I was very physically, I was kind of a tomboy growing up. And even in high school, if you looked at my high school transcripts, it was like a million PE classes, because I hated everything else. And so when I joined the military and of course became a firefighter, you have to be very physically fit. And I think that's why it flowed for me. Like when you know it, you know, right? And I became very passionate because you have to be fit to be a firefighter, and it just went hand in hand. Well, when I joined the Air Force, and I was in Italy, my commander put me up to be a PTL, and the PTLs run squadron PT for the whole squadron. And at the time, you had to be, it was typically higher ranking people, and I was a brand new airman, you know, lowest ranking, only female. Everybody knew who I was. And he was like, "You're going to go teach PT." And I was like, "What?" You know, so, and you know, he was an awesome commander. I mean, he saw my performance. I mean, he saw me competing with like the top 10% in my mostly men, right? So I'm up there just kicking butt, and he put me in for that, and I started really, that's how I found my passion for fitness even more. I found a personal trainer course that was being offered on base in Italy, and I signed up at the gym. I saw it and I was like, I'm totally taking this. And so I became a personal trainer. And then I got orders to South Carolina, back to the States, and they had group fitness available. And so that just kind of started my path, and started teaching spin and like all these classes on bases and local gyms. And that's when I decided to start my online fitness business. And the day that I was, you know, I was learning all the lingo and the stuff for online entrepreneurs. And I mean, I was just a coach. I'm like, I don't know what a sales funnel is. I don't know what, you know, lead magnets. I mean, it was like way overwhelmed, right? And I'm like, I just want to coach people. And so I'm like, okay, I got to brand myself. And we're in the gym, and I do CrossFit. And my friend and I are both getting ready for our workout that day, which happened to include deadlifts. And deadlifts have always been my thing. Like, I'm very strong, but deadlifts have been my forte. And we're getting ready to do deadlifts. And I said, what about Deadlift Diva? You know, and she was like, that is so you, you know? So that's how I got Deadlift Diva, and came up with the logo and the design and the colors, and it stuck. I hit my PR so far, which I hit on that deployment, was 350. And so my goal by the end of this year is 400. I really want to hit that 400 range, but it just, you know, I love helping people, and I love seeing people being able to also, you know, hit their fitness goals. And fitness isn't just about being physically fit. I mean, it is a big part of it, but you know, for me, before I found NLP and other things, fitness, I could just go in and destroy the weights, just go as hard as I wanted to if I was having the worst day. And you know, it was a huge stress reliever for me to be able to go in and have a crazy workout and just go, you know, 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. And I know some people, it's hard because some people are like, oh, I hate working out. And I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
who doesn't like to work out? They're like, you're insane, you know?
And that was actually going to be my next question. So if you don't mind, let's just get into it now, because I feel like you're ready to share this information. So let's say there's two types of people that I want you to talk to right now. Let's say there's somebody who has stepped foot in the gym, they're really intimidated, they want to go and they want to sign up. What's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody that wants to get into it? And what is one piece of advice that you would give to an advanced lifter that's been lifting, let's just say, for 3+ years? What advice would you give to both people on the spectrum, the opposite ends of the spectrum?
Yeah, awesome. So great questions, by the way. So the first one, so somebody that, you know, because I hear that a lot, where they're like, no, I'm not a gym person, and I hate being in the gym. I don't want to be in the gym. I don't want to be around people. Or, you know, a big one too is, I don't want to get bulky. A lot of women, my female clients always said that. And I'm like, that's physically impossible. Like, you are going to be fit. You would literally have to take steroids to look like a man. And so my biggest advice for someone like that is, especially now that I do have the NLP kind of, you know, it actually works hand in hand with my fitness, which is awesome, because I can get down to the very deep level of what their habits are. So I started asking questions of, you know, what's really, because yeah, fitness is one thing, but there's something that's usually underlying why they have some anxiety or some fear around being in a gym, or even just working out. Say they're not working out at all, right? They're like, oh, it's not for me. I hate it. It's, you know, freaks me out to go to the gym, or I'm intimidated. You know, everyone, including myself, started somewhere in the gym. And if you're afraid of like people judging you, or like, oh my gosh, I'm going to look like an idiot because I have no idea what I'm doing, I think that's a lot of people why they're intimidated of going to the gym. I like to say, you know, what is the cost of that on your life? So what is the cost of you holding back from your greatness by being in a gym, whether it doesn't matter what kind of workout you're doing, right? It's, you know, you think about the cost. Let's just take a look at the physical aspects. We all know, any of us who's been in any kind of fitness or even just listening to the stuff that, you know, if you read articles about it, you know that the less that you're active, the shorter your lifespan is going to be. I mean, and people are like,
Mhm.
oh, it's too expensive to eat healthy. It's too expensive to do all that stuff in the gym. Okay, but what is the cost of that? Like the actual cost, if you have health issues down the road where you've got diabetes or you've got, you know, you, somebody who ends up like say getting like 600 or 700 pounds and they can't leave their house. I mean, the cost of that on their body, but then you that's not even talking about mental health issues and all the other things that come in with how you feel about yourself because you're not active. But um I mean, that is it. Being unhealthy is a huge cost down the road compared to what you're paying now for eating healthy foods and staying physically active, you know.
Mhm.
So I like to use that comparison. I like to,
I love that.
yeah, because you know you want people to know. And again, most of the times that we think all that stuff, like people are thinking about this, that's our perception that we are projecting out. So they're like, oh, someone's judging me. Honestly, most people are thinking about themselves, and if they're not, that's their projection. So who cares what anyone thinks about how you look in the gym? I I'm a coach, and I there's times I'm sure I look crazy in the gym. You know? So go for it. You're awesome. Do it. That's what I tell people. Just take that step and go for it. Second one, somebody who's been in the gym. This I actually saw a lot as a trainer when I first started personal training. My first gym at Gold's Gym in South Carolina, and especially from men. And this is an attack on you guys at all, but
Can I take a guess before you go? Let me take a guess. I want to say it's gonna be the ego lifting.
yeah, that's
Ego
a
lifting, is that
part of
what it
it.
is?
But yes, that's a big part of it.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I mean, I experienced that too. That was one of the things that I really had to learn how to control. You know, just because you're throwing around 315 on the bench doesn't mean that you're actually doing it right. Doesn't mean that you're getting all the benefits of lifting in the gym. I've seen people that go maybe a half an inch up and down. Like, is that really doing anything for you? So that would be my guess. Would be ego lifting.
Yeah, it's, you know, I know now, even compared, I mean, we're constantly evolving. You don't know what you don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
to it's good to be humble about stuff, and it's good to be always open and flexible and listening to somebody, because even I don't know everything. There's people that call themselves an expert. How are they an expert? They may have done it for a long time, and yeah, I'm sure they train and they study and they research. But to me, I don't care how experienced you are and how good you are at what you do. I don't, no matter what your level of training and experience is, we can always learn more. So be humble when somebody is sharing their opinion with you. You don't have to agree with it, right? I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
We all have opinions. We all have different perspectives. That's the point, is being able to hear somebody else, because you never know. I've learned stuff that I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know that, you know, and that's, like I said, especially from men. Sometimes like I would go in and just see horrible form and I'm like, you know, no, what are you doing? Because I'm
So
like, you're
how
gonna
do you
injure yourself. You're gonna totally friggin' hurt you're gonna need surgery if you keep doing that crap, you know.
So how do you filter between the good information and the good advice, between the bad information and bad advice?
I it's hard to say that because, right, you don't know. So
Mhm.
I would say when you hear something, go research it for yourself. Go look it up. I mean, we have Google. We have everything. You pull out your phone and be like, you know. And of course, you have to, you know, you can't just look at one article and be like, oh, this says it, you know.
Yeah.
It's again, it's being open-minded and listening
Mhm.
to differing opinions, but really um along with that, I guess it's just kind of what feels right, because what's right for one person also may not be right for somebody else. I always take the approach of, yes, I know stuff, but I don't pretend to know everything, because I don't.
Mhm.
There's no way. But I always, I guess the big for me, I would go up and be like, hey, you know, have you tried doing this a different way? Because that, from my experience, can cause injury, can cause all kinds of bad form.
Yeah.
Bad form leads to injury, and a lot of them just didn't want to hear it. You know, they just
Yeah.
what do you know? You're a chick. And I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I've seen it all the time too. It's unfortunate. You're trying to help the person out and they want to treat you a
yeah,
certain way. You know, that's not cool. And as far as like, you know, I'm going to ask you straight up because I need this. And, you know, we only have a few minutes left, but this is something that I need to hear because I'm not the best with this. So I have two more questions for you, and let's try to make this one quick and, you know, try to help out the people who may need it. So for me, I know diet is a really a big struggle for me. Do you have any tips or advice on dieting? Because the next question after that has nothing to do with it, and that is more important than the dieting question. So I just want to get this one, like, you know, out of the way.
absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up as well. Like, believe it or not, as much as I know about fitness, I've always, like I said, always been kind of in, you know, fit and know tons about form and anatomy and all those things. Diet was a big one for me. It was so hard. And I see these girls that are out there that are just crushing it. You know, they have that amazing physique. And I'm like, how in the world do they get that? Because my body type, I have a ton of muscle mass. I am obviously not a petite girl. You know, I'm 5'9". Like I said, my PR, my deadlift is 350. And I have, you know, large quads and large, like everything. I'm not a petite girl. And so diet was tough for me. Like for years I've struggled with diet, and I've struggled with my self-esteem over it. Because because I was as tough and strong as the boys. I mean, I was called fat when I was younger, and I was never fat. But I really, diet is tough because every single person is totally different from the next person, right? I mean, there's people that have similar things. My For me, I really started researching. I started looking at, and I started paying attention to how I feel after I eat certain foods. So I love pizza, especially after living in Italy. And that's tough because I never want to give that up. But I know that I cannot eat that regularly. And I know that in order for me to stay healthy and start really like staying in that fat fuel burning stage, I had to get rid of a ton. I keep my carb level really, really low. I have to watch it. So I don't really do like a diet, so to speak. I guess if you could put me in a category, to be like um, the carnivore slash keto diet, because it's a combination of both. But people that have not really done it much, just pay attention to your body, pay attention to how you feel. If you are eating gluten or you are eating bread or you're eating pasta, how do you feel? Do you get bloated? Do you feel crappy and sluggish? That may be an indicator. Same thing with dairy, same thing with fruit. I mean, there's stuff that I found out from my deployment that I had horrible adrenal fatigue, and I had intolerances to like stuff like broccoli and turkey, which I love, and I
Yeah.
couldn't eat as much of that. So I keep my carb low, but that's me. I know that works for my body.
Yeah.
Really just paying attention and just kind of, it's like plugging in the formula, right? You just try different things until you find the right one.
Yeah, and that's so it's one of the things that I really have to work on too, and I feel kind of, you know, like I know that I got to get to it, but I'm gonna get on it. We're all gonna get on it. So thank you for that. Now, unfortunately, we only have 1 minute left on this spectacular program. So for the next like minute, if there's one thing that you want people to take away from this entire episode and your experience, in the next minute, what would that be? What would you want them to take away from this?
That's a tough question because I'm like, there's so much.
Yeah.
You know, I would say taking back, like it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before. If you feel like your life is, you know, you are really in your head and you're like, this isn't, I'm kind of where I was right before, like I can't go on anymore, and I can't think about what your gift is and what you are keeping from the world as a person, because we are all important. We all have things that we're better at than somebody else. We all have special gifts for a reason. And if you're not thriving, sorry, if you're surviving and you're in survival mode and what you're struggling with, you know, reach out to somebody. And it's hard. It's hard to look inside. It's hard to look into those points of yourself that maybe are not as flattering, but we all have them. You know, stop comparing yourself, or remove comparing yourself to somebody else, because the only person you're in competition with is the old you, and you should be constantly being better than the person you were before. And do whatever makes you feel good. Do what aligns with your soul to your higher self. That's what life is about, and impacting the people around you to uplift them as well.
Yeah, and I love that. And Meghann, there's so much more that we can talk about, and we might have to get you on the show again for part 2, because there's so much information to unpack about your higher self. And I know exactly what you mean, but for the people that are watching, they may not understand. They need an entire new show. So thank you, everybody, for watching this week. You know, like I said, what happens in your inside reality happens in your outside reality. And where I'm at right now is kind of just an example of you to show you that the stuff that we talk about on the show isn't nonsense, and that it does have truth and meaning behind it. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Meghann, for your service and for your experience, and for coming on the show today and sharing all of that. And you guys don't want to miss next week's episode. We have a very special episode next week as well, just because the entire month of July is going to be dedicated to the service members. So thank you, Meghann, for your service. Thank you to literally everybody for watching, commenting, showing Meghann love. And I just want to thank everybody. So I'll catch you guys next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano. And thank you, everybody, again, for everything that you provide. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend.